I am so happy to be with you today. This is the second Thursday musing, or maybe it's the third. I think it's the third. And it follows the one on feelings. And just to recap, how do feelings relate to spirituality? Everything is spirit, even your feelings. But when we deny our feelings, we kind of get stuck in a loop. And by using my system of describing the feelings with a bigger word, it acts as a pattern interrupt. And then we're available for a new moment. So go back and listen to that if you haven't. I'm just assuming that you know where I'm coming from. Anything I say in the next several Thursday musings on practical spirituality, that's what I want to talk about, because I don't want to speak from a specific path that people feel they have to join my path. I only want to share how you on your path might be able to benefit from some of my experience working through suffering, pain, death, grief, and the little stuff. The little stuff can be just as big as the big stuff. So let's start in about practical spirituality on one subject. How about if we focus on the topic of either loneliness, because social scientists and the news is full of, we have an epidemic of loneliness. And that's kind of interesting to me, because it's another way of talking about what several spiritual paths, at least maybe many, talk about. It's a belief in separation from humanity and from the divine that is described as our biggest problem. A Course in Miracles says your only problem is your belief in separation. Everything else follows that problem. I'm not sure what Christianity actually teaches, or even Judaism, but I know that we're asked in those faith ministries, we're asked to believe in God, we're asked to surrender. For some people, God is a word that just is sacred and fills the heart with connection. For other people, it's a toxic word because perhaps their gender has been restricted by faith programs, religions telling them that they were unworthy because of their gender identity, and so on. People who have been divorced have been thrown out of a faith program, even when they've been abused and neglected and hurt. They have been told that they should have stayed. So I won't get into all of that, how people have been hurt by churches. People have been helped by churches, so I'm not here to badmouth churches, synagogues, any faith, any religion. I want to talk in a way that's practical. So I was very lucky in 1995. I got to go to India with about 70 other Westerners, mostly psychotherapists, who studied with a man named Ramesh Balsekar. He's no longer with us in body, but he said a couple of things which I find very relevant today. He said, what I'm going to teach you, you need to decide after you apply it to your life, does this help you or not feel more peace? If it helps you, embody it. If it doesn't, throw it away. He says that what I'm teaching you will not be popular. And that's what I'm thinking about today. I want to talk about certain things that are common in many spiritual circles. I want to talk about surrender, and I want to talk about manifestation. And I don't know if I'll get to all of it within 10 minutes. So whatever I don't get to, I will continue in the next one. Now, surrender implies two. There's you and there's what you're surrendering to. I might call it life. I find that life is a more palatable word for many people than God. If you believe in God, you can also believe in life, but not necessarily the other way around. So let's talk today about surrendering to life. Now, what Ramesh mentioned is that he said in the Western world, you love, love, love goals. Put out a flyer that you're going to talk about goals and you're going to help people achieve their goals. You'll be filled. But talk about allowing life to have its way with you. Nobody will show up, or very few. We like to believe we're in control of our lives. We do get to experience life as though we're in charge. But any of us who've had an illness, any of us who've had a child die, any of us who've lost our homes in a hurricane or had natural disaster, it doesn't fly really well to tell us that somehow our consciousness brought our level of consciousness brought that on, that in some way we must have brought this on. Now, people who talk about manifestation often talk about it in what sounds to me as taking credit, that their persona, their personality takes credit. Look what I achieved. I had an intention, I had a goal, and I got it. Yay, me. Well, what he said, and it still holds for me all these years later, if you're going to do that, then you've got to blame yourself when the things happen that you didn't want. So you can't have it just one way. It's like throwing the ball up and saying, I'm not going to acknowledge that the ball comes down. Yeah, that's the play of this world. The ball goes up, the ball goes down. So surrender implies two. I'm surrendering to life. I'm surrendering to God. I'm surrendering to Jesus. I'm surrendering to whatever. You can say I'm surrendering to life, and that might get you closer, but it's still two. What if we are the embodiment of life? every idea, every intention, every goal, every thought, not just the great ones, not just the ones we approve of, that we're all being lived. I know that for many that does not sound inspirational, but it takes so much of the guilt and the blame away. Every day, every moment is possible. It's what quantum physics says, that we are energy. We are not these solid beings, where our bodies are made up of energy, not a solid person. Now, I know that there are still scientists looking to find consciousness inside the head, but they haven't found it yet. They haven't found it in the body. And other scientists are determined to show us that we are part of a quantum field, a quantum universe. How would it be for you if 100% you belonged? How would it be for you if there was not even anything to surrender to, that you are it? Not the outside, not your body, not your achievements, not your goals, not the outside world. But what if that innermost part of you that is aware of, let's say, being in a bad mood? The other day, I don't think I remember in my childhood being in a bad mood. I remember having too much coffee and being in a bad mood, but I was in a bad mood. And I was really surprised. I had to break it down the way I did for you last time on feelings, and I could identify quite a few feelings: anger, and probably a feeling of unworthiness, which woke me up, because for me, unworthiness is imagined. It means I have forgotten what and who I am. But you know how it disappeared? The moment I noticed, it was my alert. When I was believing in unworthiness, it was my wake up. And then I went to what is noticing this bad mood. And the bad mood was really a gift, because there was no particular story about it. You know, when we're looping around a problem, we have a little further to step out of, because we're believing in the problem or the situation. It's our fault, or it's the other person's fault. But this bad mood was a gift, because I could step back into what is noticing. There is an observer noticing that bad mood. Bad mood, good mood, that's part of this world. Most of the time I live in the flow. And so a bad mood is quite a gift, actually. And then I went a step back, a further step back. It doesn't take long. What is it that's noticing? The observer noticing. And that is our connection, stepping back into a further away from the bad mood, further away from Rosalind, further away from the world. I enter a space-like place. It's an energy, it's not a place. It's not located in a particular place in my body. But it's the beginning of freedom, because freedom has no end. But all of a sudden, my bad mood seemed actually funny. Now, if you're not experienced in going to this place, you may need to step over or may desire to step over into the meditation section, where I'll take a little more time to bring you there. But from this place, there aren't two. There's nothing to surrender. There's only me as the embodiment of spirit, of life. And every thought, even the bad mood, everything is supposed to happen. Try it out. Your mind won't like it. The ego doesn't like it. But try it out. What if every time in the next day you think, oh, that shouldn't have happened, this person was wrong or I was wrong? And what if in this play world, this play world of good and bad, everything was supposed to happen? The mind will fight, I promise you, but try it on. Not whether you believe it or not, or what if this, what if that, but try it out in a practical way. If it was supposed to happen, how are you feeling right now about X, Y, Z? Is there a letting go like happens when you actually surrender? Make a few notes. Bring them to glimpses. I'd love to hear from you. My time is up. I'm going to say goodbye for today. Bye-bye. We will continue